right to do so, but it is a form of protest. That's very sad for Dublin. It's amazing in Ireland that to have any type of protest can draw so much criticism from people who are going around their daily business. The fact that they're able to go around their daily business for a start is because of people like you. People like you who stood up against tyranny. So well done. How are we all doing? Good, we're alive. Are we all alive? Are we all free?
Testing, okay. We're good, Joe. Good idea, turn the mic on.
So we're going to play a little bit of music, chillax. I want you to turn to the person on the left of you and turn to the person on the right of you. Make friends. Exchange numbers. Relax a bit, spread out. For those wondering why we don't understand what we're doing, we're against making apartheid in Ireland. We're against any form of discrimination in Ireland. So please join us in the centre.
Testing 1, 2, 3. This is my song called Waiting for Freedom. We're on it together. Change the world!
Tak, tak. Mama nie mogła przyjść, żeby się czuła. Tylko jedna jest tutaj.
Thanks very much for being there's a little song to kick us all off. Very people at the very back, you want to come forward a little bit? You want to come up? Look, it's uncomfortable as it is to protest. And to have an uncomfortable protest as in stopping the traffic, etc., etc. That's the idea of a protest. So I know it might be a little bit uncomfortable, but it is what it is. Come on up a little bit here.
Come on, head up, please.
Come on, head up here. There's plenty of room up here in the front.
You'll be all into heroes and all that. Well done, lads. Come on.
Well done. Again, for the passers-by who don't understand what we're doing, we're against the medical apartheid. We're against any form of discrimination of any citizen of this country. If you want to join the protest, please feel free to do so. That is your constitutional right to do so. The LMS started was set up almost 2 years ago with the idea of protecting the Constitution within Ireland, because we saw as individuals that the government itself was increasingly encroaching on our rights. Here we are almost 3 years later, in the middle of probably the biggest media campaign in the history of mankind. The entire thing is to strip you of your rights. And we've seen it. And yet people don't seem to understand. They seem to walk by and think that it's okay to discriminate. No, they're not parents. They're listening far too much to the fake media. If we had the same access to unlimited funding, to unlimited volunteers, and to unlimited power, unlimited access to the Irish media, there wouldn't be just a couple of hundred of us, or a couple of thousand. This big propaganda that's been going on for the last 3 years, not just the last year and a half, wouldn't exist. But we don't have that access. We have to rely on ourselves. And sometimes that's quite difficult, because with people's frustrations, they think that they have a better solution. And that's okay, because we're all supposed to be working in the same direction. Okay. Today, all across the world, in every major city, there is a worldwide freedom rally. And later on tonight, you all, yeah, well done. Give them a big cheer. across the world. And although we'd like our numbers to be tens of thousands, it is what it is. We're not alone. Anyway, later on tonight you'll all be going on social media and you'll be applauding all of those people. And I'd just like to give a special thank you to all of you who took the time and the courage to come out. It isn't easy. What do we want?
Freedom!
What do we want?
No!
What do we want?
Freedom!
What do we want?
No!
What do we want?
Freedom!
What do we want?
No!
What do we want?
Freedom!
So there's a couple of speakers who came today, and I'm going to give them the opportunity to have a little chat to you. We've heard all of this time and time again, but what we're trying to do is encourage you to get active. Encourage you that despite all of the nonsense, that we all get active and we help it grow. Because there will be more. There will be more infringes on your human rights, on your constitutional rights, on your inalienable rights of freedom. There will be more. When people are getting let go from their jobs because the choice has been taken away from them, that's coming next. Make no mistake. The government will have you believe that on the 22nd of October, that it'll be all over.
Bullshit!
Absolute bullshit.
Yeah.
Sorry for my language.
Caballo caca!
Yesterday, the head of NEFIT said that if the cases go up, then they'll push the restrictions.
Fake PCR results!
This week in the Dáil, they'll be extending the restrictions until 2022. But everybody thinks it's all over. It ain't over. Anyway.
It ain't over till we say it's over.
It's a good point.
Oh yeah,
it's over
I
when we
already
say it's
gotcha.
over.
Already gotchas.
You the people.
Already
Anyway,
gotcha. Already gotcha.
I'd like to invite Dr. O'Carroll. Take your time, come up.
Over a doctor! You're not a doctor, shit!
2 years ago, 2 years ago, 2 years ago, I never thought I'd be standing up here talking to such a large crowd of people about something that is happening to our country the way it is happening. 2 years ago, perhaps many of you here never thought you either would be in this predicament, in this situation. And I've asked myself, what has taken us here? Why are we here? And as before, I will use one word to describe it, and that word is weakness. We are here because of weak people making weak decisions. And weak people attract other weak people. And weak people come together and they don't know they are weak. And we know that. We are a people that are awake. We are risen. We are the true representatives of this little great nation of ours. This country that has contributed so much to humanity, that has pointed the world in a direct direction so many times, but now we are the victim of weak people in weak government, and weak people attracting other weak people have us in the mess that we are now in. I say to weak people, step aside. I say to weak people, get off the stage. I say to weak people, your day is over. I'm looking out, I see in hope people who are risen, people who are not weak, who show strength, people who will guide this nation to its destiny. And that destiny is a destiny of freedom, a destiny of thinking to oneself on one's feet. And we condemn authoritarianism and weakness. And where does weakness reside? Unfortunately, it resides in Dáil Éireann. Unfortunately, in Leinster House, we have people whose sole ability is political survival. People who will promise you a bus pass if you're 21. People who will promise you a pension if you're 31. People who will promise you anything, but they do not show leadership. They do not give us guidance. I say to those scoundrels, our patience is not endless. I say to those scoundrels, your time is ending. I will say to those scoundrels, I will give you one last chance. I will give you one last opportunity to redeem yourselves. I will give you one last opportunity to be honourable and truthful to us. I will give you one last election, but our patience are not endless. Our patience do not go on forever. Do not dare take us for granted, because that is what you have been doing, and we know that your time is ending. We say to you that you're under notice, that we are watching you, and to step aside and let the real Irish people rise up as a nation. There are people here supporting us from many other great nations in Europe. There are people from Poland, there are people from France and Germany and Slovakia and other countries as well. And I say to you, you are our friends, you are our comrades, you are our flesh and blood. And we shall rise up together, and you shall support us, and we shall support you to chase the scoundrels off the scene, and to bring democracy, to bring truthfulness, to bring enlightenment, and for us to work together as a group of nations, bringing forth all that is good and wholesome and noble within all of our cultures. But as Irish people looking out here, I recognise so many of you. Many of our families have been on this island for over 2,000 years as great Gaelic families. Some of us have been here as Anglo-Norman families for hundreds of years. We are bought into this island. We are bought into this nation. This is us. And we are saying to those who would betray us, your time has ended. Your day is gone. It is we as a risen people who are going to stand up, who are going to direct the way forward, who are going to push you aside and say, how dare you represent us? How dare you claim to speak for us? We as a people have risen. Look around, be proud, stand tall, walk tall. We are who we are. We are not going away. We are watching you very carefully. One last chance, and that is it. Thank you everybody. Keep up the spirit, keep up the courage, keep it up, and we march on. Thanks very much. It's very rare to have medical professionals standing with us, the people. And we know the hard time they get, the censorship. We have our friends here from Antifa along the left-hand side. Isn't it fantastic that they have also the same rights as everybody else? And we let them do their own thing. All two of them. Anyway, I want to call Pat Green. Pat Green, you know? So Pat's going to talk to you a little bit about citizens initiated referendum.
What a fantastic turnout, everybody. Well done to you. We're just knocking around here in the background, but it's up to you to get this thing going and get motivation. Motivate your neighbours, motivate your family, motivate those, I won't use that word, up and down there and to start doing what they're supposed to do and represent the people, not represent themselves and big business. We all know the corruption in this country. We all know exactly what's happening. But what does get done? Absolutely nothing. Why? because we do not have the power to tell them what to do. They come up every 5 years and say, put your tick there, I'm your man. I'm your man, I'll get that pothole fixed. You sell your lives cheap, down to the cheapest level ever. He got me, or he got me mother, something or other. And that's what it's down to. In the 1700s, a man by Thomas Paine explained what was happening then, and nothing has changed. The rights of man have been taken by those who have the power to do it. And who has done it? You have. Not the people here, but the people who are walking past us and don't give a fiddler's damn about their lives. Thomas Paine explains in a very simple, cheap book, I bought it around the corner just in Middle Abbey Street for about €8. The other book that nobody reads, let's get it right anyway, Bunrock na HÉireann, €2.55. You wouldn't buy a pint for it, but nobody reads it. What this man was talking about, I'll get rid of the bottle. What this man was talking about is what this protects. Your individual rights. The only thing that we can do today to try and bring back our power is to bring in citizens-initiated referenda. What people don't understand is that the Irish government took away our right to call a referendum in 1922. In 1922 we had a constitution. Some would argue it isn't a constitution, but anyway, let them argue that. Article 48 stated that the individual citizen could call a referendum by collecting 70-odd thousand signatures across the country. The government had no right to call a referendum. And that is the way it should be and should always be. You as a citizen could go out and collect enough signatures within a given time frame, say arguably 18 months. So for argument's sake, you collect 100,000 signatures in 18 months. The government must call the referendum. Not only do they call it, but they are legally bound by its outcome. That is where the power comes back to the people. The same can go for local authorities, putting up massive 16-storey or 10-storey block of apartments. The 16s will be here in Dublin. They are racking us and stacking us without any recourse for us to say stop. We can use citizens-initiated referenda at that level. You go out and collect 500 signatures or 5,000 signatures in a county. In a given time frame, of course. Once you do that, they have to do what they are told. It also stops corruption because they know we are watching them 24/7. We can call a referendum at any stage and any time through the 5 years that they do what they want, where they run rampant with our money. They take it and do as they please. They give themselves big wage increases. We can do nothing about it. The one country that I know of that runs properly is Switzerland. And what do? They tell their people, we will do as you want, not as we want. Because in Switzerland, as it happened the only other day, a politician who was corrupt got 6.5 years in jail. How many of these corrupt feckers go to jail? Not one of them. It's whitewashed. With citizens-initiated referenda, that whitewashing stops. The pushing it under the carpet stops, because they know what we can do. So we have to get up off our backsides. Those of you who have stopped voting, who may be listening to this on the internet, we can reimagine what a democracy should be. We can recreate what our democracy should be. And we can rebuild it. We can do it if and only if you decide to get up off the couch and start getting active. Citizens initiated referenda for everyone. That is our goal, and that is what we need to do. Thank you.
Well done, Pat, thanks very much. It's not easy getting up here. Somebody stopped me in the crowd there a few seconds ago. I won't point any fingers, but they said, that man's up there promoting books. Promoting books. This is the Constitution of Ireland. It's not a book. It's not Lord of the Rings. Okay? This is the Constitution of Ireland. Something that I would highly recommend every single individual read. It would take you about an hour and 40 minutes to read it. It lays out your rights as individuals in this country. Exactly. It's not a book. It's the Constitution. Anyway, I'd like to call, who will I call up? Ben Gilroy. Ben, are you there? Where is he? There he is. Ben Gilroy.
Folks, once again, thank you for turning out. And it's amazing to me how many people are sitting at home now believing the government are giving them back all their rights at the end of the month. No doubt when the winter comes and more lockdowns come, the crowds will come back on the street. But I just want to say, give yourselves a round of applause for keeping it going until then. You are the true warriors, and Ireland badly needs warriors right now, as do many countries all over the world. I noticed in Australia early this morning, the police were very, very rough with the Australian people, simply because they stood up for their rights. So let's send a big round of applause to everyone in Australia, because they do watch this. And folks, I've seen here a lot of divide among the people and people going off elsewhere. Let me tell you, this is bigger than any of us. And if we do not pull together, we will not stop this tyranny taking place in Ireland. And let me give you some good news. When more lockdowns take place, we will stop it. All we need is 100,000 people standing here, and it stops immediately. Remember that. So once again, thanks very much, folks, and we will be here in greater numbers, make no doubt about it. Thank you. Thank you.
Thanks very much, Ben. I have a gentleman here who wants to speak to you about the community games. Where are you? Someone want to take that flag off him? Fair play to him.
Hello folks, don't do this as a habit, but I'm a local lad from Mahini, and I've been fighting my own activism in my local area since 2016 really, and hit a brick wall going up against all council and government and Gardaí a lot, and I've been to everywhere, and basically what it is, what really struck a chord with me was that these people in government think they know best for what's right for their kids, okay? And I've been trying to highlight basically the community games since 2016. Not that it doesn't exist, it does exist, but it exists in a small population of the people of the country. So if you take into consideration 200,000 kids registered in the community games, that's a representation of 1% of the population. 75,000 by 2.5 kids, 175,000. Tweak the numbers a bit, you have 200,000 kids. There should be a broader spectrum. There should be thousands more. And they replace the community games with quangos and jobs for the boys and all these groups that do nothing, youth centres, 3 nights a week if you're lucky, create nothing. You can become national champion from 6 years of age to 16 giving you great benefits to take into the school, later life, college, education, the lot, like sports activities. You could be an Olympian from it, like, but now they deny it. So they're creating problems, create quangos to fulfill the problems. So it's corrupt. The whole lot, the system is bent, and they've been doing this for 40 years. Just do your research in your own community. Why isn't the community games there? Why haven't we got 45 events to choose from? If you don't like GAA, soccer or boxing, there's nothing for you if you live in the council estate. Well, there is there, but you have to fight for it, literally. There's the girl up the road there, won an Olympic medal. She had to fight for it. So there is no community games in the inner city. There's no community games in Coolock, Finglas, Ballymorn, Darndale, anywhere. Ross and Limerick, no community games. They just don't exist. You ring any youth centre in any city, in anywhere, problematic area, the community games, it's not there. These people have been doing this for years, decades, and they want to tell us now what's right for our kids. The hell with them. The hell with a lot of them. We will not comply, and you will not get near our kids with anything. He's a done, he's have exposed yourself, he's a dead in the water, he's a finished, game over. Listen, thanks for that, folks. I love you all. Keep up the fight, alright? And by the way, Trump won, and get a load of that and we got.
Well, it's not easy getting up here. Well done to him. He's 100% right. We need more activism in every community across the country.
Well done.
Oops. Yeah, we need more activism right across the country in every single community. Because we've lost our community spirit. You only have to look at sides of the street here and people walking by looking at us. And there's two ladies down here whistling, whistling, whistling. While a man is up here trying to advocate for the children of Ireland, and they're down there whistling, trying to silence his voice.
I love this.
Isn't it shocking?
Fucking unbelievable.
Isn't it shocking that we're advocating for less poverty and they're down there whistling? Isn't it shocking that we're advocating for more control of our country as a people and they're down there wanting to take it away from you? Anyway, I'm going to invite Michael Leahy up to say a few words. Let's give him a round of applause.
Thank you very much, Glenn, and it's wonderful to see so many people in such fine numbers. I was just thinking there is no more appropriate place for freedom-loving Irish people to gather than under the statue of Daniel O'Connell, our great liberator, who brought the life of Irish freedom to this country 180 years ago. We must remember our history, we must remember our recent past, and we must never let it happen again. I'd like to thank the very charming musical accompaniment on my left-hand side. I think we'll call them the Whistling Witches. Would that be a good group name for them? Perhaps, ladies, a bit of a musical accompaniment. Some beat there maybe might be a good thing. You know, many people think that perhaps it's all over. Perhaps the lockdown is over and we're going to get back to normal. Well, I sincerely hope to have some semblance of being right, because I never again want to witness the obscenity of what we have witnessed as Irish people over the last 18 months, where there have been attacks against our liberty, our right of freedom of speech, freedom of assembly, and freedom of religious worship. We must never let that happen again. We must also remember that the legislation which is now at that level of repression to be enacted is still on our statute books, and it has never been properly tested by the courts. Perhaps our greatest failing as a nation over the last 18 months is that all of our civic institutions, none of them enabled a test to be carried out of the propriety of what the government was doing at a constitutional level. Our churches, our media, our Oireachtas, and most of all our higher courts failed to hold the government to account. Faced with the most important constitutional crisis in our country's history, our courts simply sat on their hands and kicked this kicked this critical matter to touch in the hope that it will go away. Well, the Irish people are not going to go away when it comes to a fight for their liberties. It may be that we will return to some semblance of normality, but when I hear sinister terms like the Great Reset and the new normal, then I can only conclude that there is an effort to ensure that the future world which we face will be a very different and much uglier place than that which we have known. One of the most chilling aspects of what we have witnessed over the past year and a half is the extent to which multinational high-tech corporations, many of them with a substantial presence in this country, have been used by government to track and trace our population, to censor freedom of expression, and to censor and cancel those who go against the accepted narrative. And that is particularly the case in the case of so many fine doctors, including several who are members of our party, who have come out to tell the truth and who have been attacked both personally and professionally for doing so. We will not survive as a democracy if we censor and silence people who express dissent despite their high level of qualifications. If we do not stand up to this, our democratic and political structures will become worthless, the freedoms for which we fought will become meaningless. I am here to say that the Irish people are not going to let that happen without a fight. My particular fear is that the COVID tyranny which we have witnessed has been merely a trial run for an ongoing system of surveillance and control which will be justified by other manufactured crises, whether health or climate or racial or gender related. And to that end, we must fight above all against to resist the efforts to introduce the digital passports. Any form of passport system will gradually be extended into every aspect of our lives, and it will not just be about vaccinations. Digital internal passports have the potential to form the foundation of an unprecedented surveillance and control system into which the lives of all of us will be tied, including health records, banking and credit. It is based on the odious Chinese Communist Party social credit system, and if we do not stop it now, it has the potential to enslave us for generations to come. When government tries to introduce a modern, technocratic system of slavery, we must say to them that our forebears fought for hundreds of years to end slavery, and we will not allow you to bring it back under a different name.
Oh my God!
What is perhaps most sad and shocking of all is to see those countries which have traditionally been democratic, Australia, New Zealand, Canada, France, have now been effectively reduced to the status of police states, with the most extraordinary and sinister proposals being made openly for mass incarceration of their own populations. I have tired of saying that this is scarcely believable, because every day some new horror is announced from formerly democratic countries. Do not be under any illusion, but that's what's in store for here. Several countries in Europe have now dismissed from employment even those in the most crucial areas, including healthcare, those who refuse to participate in the dubious project of mass vaccination. Ireland always has been one of the most repressive of European states, and it always wants to be the best boy of the class. Do we have any doubt that at the first sign of an increase in influenza, as always takes place in October and November, that the government will recommence their push for lockdowns and COVID passports? Once the passport comes in, all is lost, because that is the precursor of a cashless society. That is the precursor of watching every move that you make and every transaction that you make. And we must draw the line in the sand if they attempt to introduce a passport and internal passport system.
I do not comply!
To that end, I will call on all people of goodwill to prepare for a widespread campaign of civil disobedience against the provision of internal passports, and we in the Irish Freedom Party will happily play a role in organising such a campaign. I know that many of you are here today, not so much to protect your own interests as to protect the interests of your children. Be in no doubt that your children are in the sights of the woke left. Again, it may be that the vaccination campaign against children is aimed at seeing how far they can assert control over children against the interests and the wishes of their parents. Whatever other purpose vaccination serves, it has nothing to do with the health of our children, because they are under the least possible risk from virus. Every parent who has a school-going child will be aware of how our schools have recently been used to promote homosexual propaganda against our children, frequently against the wishes of the parents. The corruption of our children has long been the name of the Marxist left. The purpose of destroying and economically undermining our family structure was a prelude to getting at our children. Well, we have only one word to say to the sinister forces which are obsessed with corrupting our children, and that is, you can keep your hands off our kids when they're in the schools or with your wretched injections. Now that we move into what Mr. Varadkar and his henchmen have referred to as the new normal, the Irish people will face two imminent and immediate threats. The first is the ongoing attack against freedom of speech, masquerading under the guise of prohibition of hate speech, and the second will be an irrational program of economic destruction, masquerading under the guise of the other great conspiracy theory, man-made global warming.
Mass corruption! And the third is being fucking Irish and being proud. Want to listen to him?
Okay.
Listen to him. Listen to him.
Go home then!
I would ask you all to be familiar with the proposed hate speech legislation at present before the Dáil, and which apparently has the support of all of our parties. It constitutes a dreadful attack against freedom of speech and freedom of assembly, which will mark a descent into a barbaric dark age of intellectual and social repression. We will never go into that dark night of social repression. If we allow a gang of unscrupulous elites to determine what we can and cannot say in public, then the great struggle for Irish people, for Irish freedom, has been a struggle in vain. The Irish people will never let that happen. Many people have spoken about the recent Zapornigate scandal and how it was a sad indication of cronyism at the highest levels of government. In my opinion, however, the worst aspect of that scandal was this: how could anybody other than a Bilderberg insider conclude for a moment that Catherine Zaporne, a person who never saw a dissenting idea that she did not want to censor, could possibly have fulfilled her role as an envoy of free speech on behalf of Ireland? That attempted appointment shows the utter contempt that our government elite has for democracy and for the very concept of free speech. We will have no more Zapornes and no more left-wing petty Hitlers trampling on our democracy. Shall I wrap it up?
Off you go, sir. Off you go, sir. Thank you. Off you go.
The whole process of government in recent times has seemed to resolve around the creation of false crises and then the introduction of repressive and destructive legislation in order to fight problems that do not really exist. The greatest fault perpetrated against the people is the sheer insanity of climate change policy. The measures proposed by government at the behest of the Green Party has the potential to destroy our economy for generations to come and to reduce us to penury. The digital controlling mechanisms which have been introduced during the manufactured COVID crisis will be wheeled out to attack and undermine individual freedoms during the forthcoming climate-related hysteria. We should be under no illusion that the extremist policies being promoted will be aimed over the next 15 years to lead to an economic and political dystopia which will immiserate our society and destroy our freedoms. We must get back to a situation where the economy serves the people rather than the people being the plaything of multinational forces. I will conclude and stress that we as a people do have the power to protect ourselves from tyranny. That is the lesson of Irish history. And those who seek to destroy our liberties will do well to look to the lessons of Irish history. We have within ourselves the power to bring an end to government overreach by refusing to cooperate and by making it clear that we will fight against tyranny at every available opportunity. There can be no doubt that we face a period of struggle, but every healthy person welcomes struggle when it is in a just cause. We must make government know that the Irish people will never be slaves and that we will face death before dishonour. Many of us fear that the government agents are coming for us and coming for our children. Let's make it clear to them that the tide has turned and we will come for them and we will demand justice for what they have done. We must make it clear to everybody who has been engaged in wrongdoing, in corrupting our democracy and manipulating our laws, that there is a price to be paid, and sooner or later we will demand that that price will be paid. I conclude by thanking you for coming out in such great and enthusiastic numbers today, and I ask you to continue to stand by our country, our nation, our families and our republic, and to stand by the rights and liberties of the Irish people. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Michael. We're going to finish up with a little bit of music, and then I want to say thank you all very, very much for coming and participating. It's obviously very, very difficult when you have people on the left of you who don't want you speaking at all, and people on the right of you who think it's far more important that he gets home to have his breakfast than it is for, sorry sir, mind your business, than it is for all of you people to exercise your constitutional right. No, you can't, I'm sorry. Do you mind? Alright, so here we go. Again, we'll break up after this, and I wanted to thank everybody that turned up today. If you can, go on online tonight or later on this evening. Oh, shit. Alright. Sorry for that. Yeah, if you could go on later on and share out, send it off to other people if you can, if you can be bothered. Anyway, thanks very much.
This one's dedicated to all of you and all of our prophets who have died telling a story, yeah? They didn't die for no reason, and you do not whistle over this. Now you love me. Oh look, the power of music is universal. She's not even whistling. Let's have a cheer. Oh, pirates, yes, they are mine. So much out to the merchant ship. Minutes after they took I from the bottomless pit, well, my hand was made strong by the hands of the Almighty, and we forward in this generation triumphantly. So won't you help to sing Song of Freedom, a song of freedom? I want to hear ya, 'cause all I ever redemption song. The next words are emancipate yourself from mental slavery. You ready? Let's go. Emancipate yourself from mental slavery. Numbered ourselves can free our mind. Have no fear for atomic energy. No, they can't stop the time. How long shall they kill our prophets while they stand aside and look? Some say it's just a part of it. You got to fulfill the book. So won't you help to sing a song of freedom? Song of freedom. 'Cause all I ever had, redemption song. All I ever had, oh, song of freedom, yeah. Emancipate yourself from mental slavery. How long will they kill our prophets? How long shall they kill our prophets while we stand aside and look? Some say it's just a part of it. You got to fulfill the book. Come on, you know this one?
Thank you.
He's standing there
It's
looking at
alright.
him coming
Cheers.
apart.
We're near finished anyway, so.
I know it's not land. Got to fulfill
Oh, it's okay. It's actually, I think the batch is actually gone anyway.
won't you help to sing?
No, I'll fix it.
This song of freedom is all I ever all I ever had. God bless you. Redemption is not bullshit, my brother. Good for you. Yeah. You know why? Because it's a song of freedom. We stand for freedom. Yeah. Freedom. Respect. Who knows this one?
Pardon?
It's called Don't Worry About a Thing. Is that what we're gonna say? Alright, number. Don't worry about a thing. Why is that? Because every little thing's gonna be alright. And you don't worry, don't know about a thing. Worry about a thing, no. Gonna be alright. I rise up this morning, yeah, smile with the rising sun. Free to bird, sit by my doorstep, singing what? Singing sweet songs. A melody, all together, 1, 2, 3, what is it? This is my message to you. Oh yeah, singing over no, about a thing. Don't worry, every little thing gonna be alright. Singing don't worry about a thing. No, every little thing gonna be alright. I rise up this morning, smile with the rising sun. Feel little birds sit by my doorstep. What are they singing? Singing sweet song. A melody pure and true. Singing what? This is my message to you. Baby, don't you worry about a thing. Don't worry about a thing, no, every little thing gonna be alright. Singing don't worry about it. This is what I sing to my children. Because every little thing gonna be alright. Don't worry about it, no. Every little thing gonna be alright. Yeah, don't worry about a thing. You know what? Every little thing is gonna be alright. Gonna be alright. About a thing. Don't worry about a thing. No, 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 no. Yes. Thank you all for standing up for freedom, yeah, and power to the children. Done. They don't want one more. No? No, we're done, we're done. I think the time's finished.